just want to say, if Poldark and Handsome decides he wants to get back together with Elizabeth again, I'm not sure he can still be my imaginary celebrity crush anymore. I wonder if the crazy aunt can predict that with her cards. Things in this episode just feel a little lighter, except of course for Ross's impending financial doom. But he still has Demelza, so that's what's important. He kind of forgets that though, and keeps his financial struggles a secret for a while. Until he drops the bombshell that he owes 400 pounds that he doesn't have. He also gets the news that there's a new man at the table for work, Mr. Coke. No relation to the makers of the drink. He's friends with George, so no good can come of this. And while Ross is dealing with the struggles of the mine, Demelza is at home and she meets up with a captain friend of Ross's from their old war days. He shares a glass of rum with Demelza and then offers to help her. And then Ross is a total jerk to her.
You are detestable saying that.
So now Demelza's lost her baby and she's kind of has a broken relationship with Ross. And she doesn't even have her friend Elizabeth anymore because they're on the outs with them. Meanwhile, Ross's faithful servant Judd, who left him and then came to court to testify against him but changed his mind, you know the one. He gets beat to death for taking money to testify against Poldark, and then when he changed his mind, they come and they want the money back and they want to take a piece of it out of his hide. And more than a piece of his hide, they just kill him. In good news, Francis's brush with death has changed him and his relationship with Elizabeth and their son. They all just seem so happy and normal and well-adjusted. Too bad Ross and Demelza can't be happy at the same time. But then these two couples get together for a house party, and they make you think that they're all going to get along and everything's going to be great and happy. And then you remember, this is only the second episode of this mini-series, so that's not going to happen. And since Ross is dealing with all these questionable feelings about Demelza, he turns to his original love, Elizabeth. They are staying the night there, so he just happens to be in the room where she comes in to clean up. And they have a very intense, somewhat awkward moment. And you would think Elizabeth would welcome it, and instead, she puts a stop to it. Unfortunately, Demelza's heard the whole thing outside the door on accident, so that's not good. They really need a resident in-house therapist for this group. He comes back to the room after his encounter with Elizabeth, and Demelza's crying in bed. And he tells her, "Oh, Demelza, what man doesn't look at another woman? A happy one, a one in love. And he certainly doesn't look at a woman who he used to be madly in love with and who is currently still madly in love with him. That's a recipe for disaster." He tells her he doesn't want another baby, and then she tells him, "Too late." But then we see a touch of the real Ross when he says, "A child is not a thought, it is flesh and blood, and if you can risk your heart again, then so can I." Do we believe this? I don't know. Let me tell you why. Judd, who they told us was dead and they had him ready to be buried, he's alive and walking around in his burial clothes. I'll tell you one thing, the next time they kill somebody on this show, I'm not going to believe it until I see the person actually go into the ground and not come back out. My fingers are crossed that Ross and Demelza's love is just like Judd's death, only mostly dead.